All right, guys. So we're doing a how-to today on building programming in Rainbird Cirrus. So we're just going to go through a couple of different ways to build programs, talk about some testing, how to tweak things to your course. So we're on the home page here for Rainbird Cirrus. We're going to jump into this icon at the top, Program Detail. We're going to jump into here, and I'm going to show you guys two different ways to build programs. So the first is kind of a manual entry type way. Essentially, you just hit plus here. You just name a program. We're going to call this one Front 9 Greens. Then you've got that built. Jump into this next icon at the top here, and then this is all the different stations. So you hit plus at the top here. You go 1 green plus 2 green, and so on and so forth. Essentially, you build all the greens for the front 9. And once you've got that built, you go into your 1 green. And you'll jump ahead to this sequence where you can either manually enter all the data in. So course, sequence, station, runtime, same thing over here. There's a little bit of a quicker way. I'll show you guys to do that. If you just jump in here and you just hit 1G, it's telling you you're working with number 1 greens complex. It'll recognize that. And if you click on this little icon here, rebuild station sequence, yes. It'll just take all the stations built in your table that are coded with 1G and auto-populate it right there. It just saves you a little bit of time. So I'm going to go back here, go into 2 green, jump into here, same thing, add 2G, and then all the stations that are coded with 2G, I hit this, will auto-populate over here. You can essentially just go through, do all 9 greens, build them all in here, and that's kind of the manual way to enter things. It's a little bit slower, a little bit more typing and such. So I'll show you guys a little bit of a quicker way to build things. So you just, to get rid of a program, you just click this little X here. It'll ask you if you're sure, you can delete that. And then at the top you see this icon, it's a Q, Quick IRR method. It's essentially just a faster way to build programs. So you click on this Q, it's going to bring up this table with some instructions on the right here. You kind of read through those to get you through, but it's pretty simple. It's just start time, so you got, I'm going to put 10 p.m. for example for your start time. The course here, we're on course 1. This program will let you have more than one course built in if you have 36 holes or whatever. We just have one course on here, course 1. It'll let you select front 9, back 9. You can select the individual holes as well. So here we're just going to go with the front 9, the greens, and you see at the bottom there's all the different areas: greens, tees, fairways, approach, perimeter, rough. You just click over on the side here. It'll populate that box with just a number 1. That means you've selected that area. And you can do it for the whole course here, but we're going to do it just for greens for this example. So hit OK. It'll build a program. It's just called Quick IRR program. Normally you'd give that a name. So essentially you click on this, you go to the next page, and it's going to populate with all 9 holes. And then within each hole, when you go to it, it's going to have the station. So we've got all the number 1 greens here, hole number 2, go in, all the hole number 2 greens. It's the exact same end product that we did with the manual entry. It's just a little bit of a quicker way to do it. And then I'll show you guys something you don't want to do with this. So I'm just going to delete this. So when you build one of these, you have the option you can do the entire course in one. And you might be thinking that that's a good option. So you can go front 9, back 9, and then you can select all the complexes. And it'll essentially populate with all the information from your course. So when you go into here, it's going to have all the holes. And when you go to hole 1, it's going to have every station that's coded with hole 1. So you can see here there's 29 stations. Hole 2, jump in here, it's got 30 stations. And so the problem with this is, so when you're doing this, you have control here of your water budget. And here you've got control of the water budget for this entire program. And then when you jump in here, you've got control of this entire hole. But when you do this, essentially, if you want to change the water budget for, say, just the heads on number 1 green, you have to go in and manually do it. Whereas when you build a program for just the greens, you can go in and change the water budget for just number 1 green or number 2 green or number 1 fairway. So it gives you a little bit more control of that, so you can tailor things if you have a green that's wet or dry or whatever. It makes things a little bit easier in that sense. So I just wanted to interject here and talk a little bit more about the water budgeting. So you see this number right here, the 100%. You can tweak this. Anywhere you see this water budget icon and you see a percentage, it'll give the option to tweak it. So when you want to adjust it essentially here, when you put it to 50%, it'll go half the amount of water. So if you're having, if it rained a little bit, you can tweak it and bring it back down to whatever percentage you feel like. You can bring it up, 200%, 300%, whatever, just to kind of tailor it depending on the ET and your course needs. You can change it for, there might be one green that needs extra water or less water. You can go through and tweak that in here. And then when you go into here, you have the option to tweak it right here as well. So again, you can tailor it for just hole one right here. And then you can go in, it gives you 2 places to adjust it right here. And that's basically just the percentage of water based on your runtime. So if it's 10 minutes and you put it to 50%, it'll put it down to 5 minutes. The other place you can adjust this is on the home screen here. And this adjusts it for the entire, basically for the entire course. So if you were going to water it 100% and things were tailored properly, so if you had it adjusted in other places to, tailored, you could adjust the entire thing here by clicking down. So you could knock off 10% water, say if you had a little bit of rain that day and you want to dial back the irrigation. It's a good way to adjust it without messing with all the tweaks you've done. So when you get into here, you might spend a lot of time tweaking all the different holes and all the different places to have the amount of water you want, and it's a good way to not mess that up. Alright guys, so we're just going to work on a little bit of dry run type testing for our program we just built in Rainbird Cirrus here. So you look here, I've just got a couple pretty simple programs built. I've just got the front and the back 9 greens here. It just encompasses all the holes, everything. The same stuff we were working with before. I got these 2 programs. I have them both selected here. And to start off, I've got them at 100% for water. So we're just going to close this. Go to the dry run page here. Essentially, it's just got when you're going to run it and your start time and everything else. You just click this little green Start Dry Run button up in the top left-hand corner. That starts running the irrigation cycle. It's just a theoretical dry test. So essentially, it'll run through here. It'll go through all the way from night till morning. Then once it's done, it'll show you this graph. So essentially, it's showing you on the bottom axis here, it's time. So we've got it started at 10 p.m. It's finished roughly an hour later. So this is just for both of our greens, all 18 on the course. And on this other axis here on the left is our gallons per minute. So essentially what you're going for with this, when you run a full irrigation cycle, it'll be a longer graph. It'll take a longer time. What you're going for with this is you want the graph to be as smooth as possible, so it's flat along the top. You don't want a lot of spikes and undulations, because that means your flow is spiking and it's not efficient. And then the other thing is you want it as close to the maximum output of your pump as you can get. So the pump we're working with here, I believe, is set to 900 gallons a minute. We're working a little under 650 right now. Ideally, we would be working up closer to 900 to water more stuff at a time, but it just kind of depends how you have the program built and what size of piping you have out there that limits you. But again, the higher up this is and the smoother it is, the more efficient your system is going to be. So it's going to take less time to run, there's going to be less water hammer, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what you're going for. It's got your gallons up in the top here. Shows you, like, overall, we put 27,751 gallons on the greens in this theoretical test. So this is a good way just to run your programs through and see if they work or not. You're going to find out here what's going on, how long they take to run, just so you don't have any water coming on, when you've got golfers out there in the middle of the day or whatever. So we're just going to close this dry run page here, and I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of another way that you can kind of see this. If you go to your mapping function here, you're going to have your program here. So we've got our front 9 greens, and I've actually got it running right now. So if you just right click on it and then you get start, you just essentially hit start and it'll start to run that program. I'll just zoom out here for you guys. And it just shows you with the little red icons where you have heads running. So I'll zoom in, for instance, on number 1 green here. So we've got 2 heads running on number 1 green. It's going to run heads wherever it can based on the flow throughout your course. So I know it looks a little bit sporadic. You've got heads running all over the place. But this is the most efficient way that it can do it. So you can get as much watering done as you can. So you can water all 18 greens in roughly an hour based on our dry run. The heads that you see running here are controlled by your Rainbird Flow Manager. So whatever information you put in based on the flow of your pump in gallons per minute, for example, ours is 900, and then your pipe sizes and the availability of the water controls what heads you can run. So the green complexes we have here only have a 3-inch pipe going to them, so there's limited flow. So you can only run 1 or 2 stations at a time. So what the Flow Manager does is it just runs 2 stations per green all over the course. So you can see it looks a little bit sporadic. There's heads running all over the place. This is the most efficient way to use the water to get the course irrigated as quickly as possible. And there's a little bit of information here. You can tweak the percentage of water here as well, and then it has your gallons here, 574 up at the top. That's pretty much all there is to see on the mapping. Alright guys, so we're just going to work with adjusting some of the parameters within the programs we're building in our Rainbird Cirrus here. So first off, I'm going to show you guys how to run an irrigation schedule every second night or every other night. So we're just going to go into our program here, and you're going to see here we've got our front and back 9 greens. So say if you want we're going to run the front 9 greens Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we're going to go into here and we can literally just select Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're just going to hit OK. Those will run Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And the back 9 greens, if we want to run them Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we're just going to do that. That'll essentially set them up to run. And then whichever stations you have selected over here are the ones that are going to run. So that's how you kind of do stagger the days. But say if we want to build a station where we're going to go every second day, if we're going to go into here and we're going to go to the skip days. So if you go into here, it'll be skip 1 day, and then so what this essentially means is how many days between intervals. So if you put skip 2 days, it's going to water every third night. So with the skipping 1 day, it's just going to be every other night. And then the days to go, if this is at 0, that means the system's going to run tonight. If it's at 1, it's going to run tomorrow night. 2, it's going to run a couple nights from now. So we're just going to put it at, it's going to skip, so it's going to go every other day and start tonight. So we're just going to see a 0, 1 there. We do the same thing here. So we just go to skip days, 0, 1. So essentially this is going to run tonight. That's what the 0 signifies. And it's going to skip a day. That's what the 1 recognizes, and then run the next night. So when you come back to this tomorrow, it'll say 1, 1. So it's going to be skipping a night, and it'll just alternate between 1, 0 and 1, 1 the whole time. So that's kind of how you set up what days you're going to run your irrigation on. Next thing I'm going to teach you guys is a cycle soak type of a irrigation. So we're just going to do a quick program here. So I'm just going to add one here, and I'm going to call this my cycle soak for the front 9. So same thing. I'm just going to do a 10 p.m. start time. Course 1, I'm going to select all front 9. I'm just going to do it for the greens. We're going to hit OK. So this will be our cycle soak the front 9. And then essentially what we're going to do is we're going to select just the box for that one. So you just click in it to get rid of the checks. And essentially, so now we just have this program's going to run, and essentially just have to set the runtime whatever you want. So we're going to go with a 20-minute runtime. What we need on our front, what we want on our front 9 is we want a 5-minute cycle, and then 20-minute soak, and then we need 20 minutes of water overall. So the way we're going to set that up, we're going to close this. We're going to go into station detail here, and then essentially we're going to open up this little graph, and then we're going to switch this to cycle time. So our cycle time for this is going to be 5 minutes. We'll hit OK. Go back into it. We'll go to our soak time. Say we're going to set that for 20 minutes. Hit OK. So that'll set that up, and then essentially, so once you've had your cycle soak time set up in this table here, you just go up to this little icon at the top. It's called Default Data Settings. Click on that. You're going to get this menu, and then you set this to B here. That'll give you your cycle soak time. So you can see here our cycle time is 5 minutes. Our soak time is 20 minutes. And then we're going to close this. And then essentially every station here that you want to have that cycle soak, we're going to set this to B to correspond. So we've got all our greens here set to B, and then we can just go through. This is for hole number 1. So along the top here, we can toggle to hole number 2, and we can set these all to B. It's going to ask if you want to import the data. Set all of these to B, and then all your green stations, once you go through it all, will all run that cycle soak program, and you can see the information auto-populates over on the right here for all the holes that you want to do that on. And you've got several different options when you go into this default data settings page. There's A through E. You can set up some different things to run, so you can really tailor your irrigation system for what you need, just depending on what's out on your course.